Welcome everybody to the Paint Basket online classes, and we trust that everybody's had a good holiday and raring to go. We see our new studio completely rehashed. There's hardly anything in it that is the same, and the quality, just let us know if you have any problems. The quality should be very much improved to the previous one. And right, I think let's have a look, see if anybody else is going. I think what I'm doing now is I'm going to go through to the PDF. I have a PDF here for the intro, so I think let's go over to it right now and see what I have for you here. Right. Introduction to painting with pastels. And I've put down, you can see here, watercolor and pastels. A little bit later on, we'll be combining watercolors with the pastels as well. In the beginning, I'm just going to be going for straight pastels. And the last two classes of the watercolor section, I combined pastels with it, just to give you an idea that you can combine the two. And if you've got a watercolor painting that is not up to your standard, as it were, you can come in and you can touch it up with pastels. Absolutely no problem at all, and it is perfectly legal, as it were. Okay, so let's go in here. This is a leopard cub I did quite some time back, and just to show you what you can do with the soft pastels. And the only pencil pastel that I've used basically is for here on the whiskers, and a little bit actually in the eyes, just to give me a little bit more of a more detail in that particular area. So let's shoot across. Go quickly through to, oops, let's go to here. What I'm going to do is sort of discuss this. I'm not going to go through it word for word, but I'd like to just point out a few things that people here, a lot of people have actually the wrong idea of pastels. And when they hear, they immediately think that it has to be that soft type of painting that you can hardly see anything in it. And the cosmetic and the fashion industry I think have also sort of pushed that forward, that any soft colors are pastel colors. Well, actually nothing can be further from the truth. Also on the watercolor side too, they want watercolors to be soft, and they call it pastel colors. And but the moment you sort of walk back a bit from it, everything sort of just disappears. You want a nice strong painting that has a contrast to it, nice darks in it through to the very lights. And depending on whether you want a high key or a low key, so you will have it the lighter or the darker, but you'll still have your quite a lot of contrast to it. And then the pastel sticks, or people have an idea that pastels will fade or something. Well, that's also nothing further from the truth, because pastels will last much longer, really, than a watercolor painting will, for the simple reason is that you're putting down pure pigment, where on the watercolors it's a very thin layer put onto the watercolor paper, and the sun has, or the ultraviolet rays can hit it and sort of fade the colors a little bit. But then that's, of course, if you put it into a very strong light. But the pigment for the pastels, you can make very strong paintings with it, because it's pure pigment that you're putting down. And a little bit later on, I'll show you something there where we can add stuff to it, but it will still have lots of pigment. Okay, also a lot of artists make their own sticks. I'm not going to be involved in that in here in this particular class, because that is something else completely on its own. So another thing as well too, it's not a chalk painting. It is not the type of chalk that you use for blackboards and stuff. This is made and in a totally different way altogether. So let's see. Let's have a look here. And pastel is a dry medium. And let's have a look at the advantages at this stage. It's got quite a lot of advantages. Also got disadvantages as well, like any other medium that you have. But with this one here, if you're traveling internationally, you have absolutely no airline restrictions at all. Where with oil paints, they won't allow you on because of the oil content, etc., etc., etc. And painting knives and things. If you declare in your customs you got a painting knife, like I did many years back, I had trouble at customs because they thought I was carrying in dangerous stuff until somebody walked in, and that was at Mauritius, to tell them, no, this is just a thing for mixing paint. Once that official told them, they let all my stuff through. But and also now with pastels, you can stop and start at will. Anytime you want to. You can just put your stuff down, come back in 6 months' time if you want to, come back and start and continue working with what it is. There's absolutely no restrictions. You've got like with oil paints and acrylics and things like that. And that tells you there's no drying time. It just stays as it is. You can work it absolutely immediately. As I said here, it's a direct and it's an immediate medium. And the colors will always remain fresh and vibrant. There's hardly any chance that it will really start fading unless you put it into absolute direct sunlight. It's rapid and it's responsive. In other words, the moment you put it down, it's there. And it's not like watercolors or so that you still have to go along and move it around. Well, you still have to move it around, but it responds very much quicker than the others. Also, there's no glare off your painting at all. Acrylics doesn't really have much of a glare, but if you come along and you add a varnish to your acrylics, especially if you've got a gloss varnish, it can have a bit of a glare on it, especially if you want to take photographs and you're using a flash, you get that flashback, as it were. And you can use also the matte varnish if you want to, but not with the pastels. But I'm talking about now your acrylics. There's no palette to clean. All you do is you just put your pastel sticks back into the box, close it up, and off you go. There's no brushes to clean, as it were, unless you're working with the gel and some others, which I'll talk about just now, but we'll only be doing that in a couple of months' time with a gel a bit more advanced. But even then, the amount of cleaning is very, very little. And there's no pre-mixing of your colors. Everything is so normally you have to use some white to get your different tints that you want with your colors. Here you have a color, and the only disadvantage is that you have to have a whole stack of tints. You can sort of half do it as you're painting with adding a little bit of white stick to it, but it's still not exactly the same as using the actual tinted ones that you can buy. And what you do is you buy the sticks as you need them. Right, let's have a look at some of the disadvantages here. It smudges very easily, except you've got the very, very hard pastels. Those don't smudge very easy, but the normal soft pastels, they smudge, so you have to take precautions for that. and we'll come into that a bit later. So you have to watch out that when you finish your painting, that you have to protect it so it doesn't get smudged and all your hard work is for naught. Okay, it's also not easily transported for this very reason that it smudges, but I'll show you just now what I do, and you can then, with that this way, you can actually transport it very easily, no problem at all, and you can take it with you on a plane, you can put it into your motor car or whatever you want, and carry it under your arm, and no problems at all. It can be messy, but oils and acrylics can also be very messy, but that depends. It's a personal thing. Some people can work with oils and acrylics and hardly get any paint all over even on their hands. I've had some students, I tell you what, it's absolutely unreal how they manage to paint themselves and their clothes. I really don't know. But it's just personal discipline. So it's same with pastels. If you work properly, the right way, you can keep that messiness right down to the absolute minimum. And we'll be doing that, you'll see as we go along with the classes, that you don't have to have pastel dust all over the place. Right, the sticks themselves can be very fragile, and some of them are very, very soft, and they just sort of just crumble. But even if they do crumble, there's ways that you can still use all those little crumbly soft stuff and still bring them into your painting, so you won't lose anything. You can still use everything right down to the last little crumb, as it were. Okay, another thing is we have to work with an existing range of colors and tints. In other words, you buy yourself a box of pastels, and you work with those range to do whatever you want to. So it's not always easy to get exactly the same color if you want to copy a photograph, for argument's sake, but most of the time I don't keep to the colors in the photograph at all, because often the photograph doesn't give you the true colors as what your eye actually sees it in the natural. So you can change your colors, you can add it, make it brighter if you want to. If it's a very bright thing, you can dull them down. It's up to you for the type of painting that you want to make. You want to make it a dull and sad one to give a mood. You get lovely paintings like that, or you want a nice bright and jovial one. You can do exactly the same still with all the same pastels. And to do all that, you need that reasonable drawing skills as well when we do that, especially when you start coming into figures and buildings and landscape perspective as well too. So and when we're doing these classes here, there'll be a lot of classes where I won't be handing out a template. We're going to be drawing straight onto the paper, as it were. But don't panic. It's all under control as we go along. Right. Next thing you'll need, if you want to go in for real small details and more precise control, as it were, you will need some pastel pencils. You don't need a massive big range. Buy them few as you need them. I'll show you just now the few that I've got. And right, another thing is here, you need to work in a well-ventilated area. Depending on how if you're going to be a real messy type with dust going all over the place, then you need a nice ventilated area where there's a little bit of a breeze coming past you, and so that any dust that comes off what you're working will blow away from you. And that you can put a fan at some distance, not too close by, but at some distance, just to give you that ventilation to bring the dust past you and away from you, so that you keep the dust, you breathe in then at an absolute minimum. Then of course here, if you're really dusty, you've got a dust mask, and I'll show that to you just now. Okay, so let's have a look here. Go. I'm going to show you a few things. This one here is a small in plein air painting that I did many years back with pastels out in the northern Transvaal in South Africa, the baobab tree. And you can see, look at the absolute minimum of colors that I've got here. It's basically like a yellowy green, very dark green, little touches of black, dark brown, and some like a burnt umber that I've got in here. And that's about all inside here to do this whole lot. Maybe here's, I can't remember now, maybe there's a little touch of like a yellow ochre color in there. But just to show you that you can make nice little pencil, pastel sketches on holiday, just small ones. Let's see, here's another one that I also did on that same holiday many years back. And the photograph I took here didn't come out as sharp as what I wanted to do. But anyway, this one here gives you one of the native huts across here, and the wattle and daub one that they put the sticks up, and then they use the clay to in between and make the little houses as they were, with a wall around it, and all the bushes and the baobab tree and the little roads and stuff coming past through here. And if you have a look in here too, there's also not many colors in here, yet you can still make up a nice painting. And notice you can get the nice grading still from your blue in your sky all the way down into here, and some of the nice little pinkish clouds, which tells you it's quite late in the afternoon. Let's have a look at the next one. Right. Just now, in a short while's time, I'll actually show you physically. You can have a look at my actual equipment as soon as we finish looking through this PDF. But here, you can see what's happened. I've got these ones. You get the new ones. When you get the new ones, they're all nice. See, they look like this one here. And you don't want to, you get that feeling that you don't want to take actually the wrapping off what you've got, but you need to take the wrapping off of these. And funny enough, sometimes you have to break these sticks to be able to use them as well. So that you break them, you can see all these ones are in little bits and pieces. Actually much easier to handle, and especially if you want to do sideways working with the pastels. You can see that one there's been worked nice and flat. This one will be too big to go in, or like here into the areas that you need. So, and you keep these in, and you notice here they all nicely in this little corrugated section in here. Keep them. And then here I've got another type. This is also a dollar Rowney, for like a little landscape one that I bought many years back, for the colors that you can use in a landscape painting. In other words, these are the few that you can still use to make up fabulous landscape paintings. But if you want to go into further detail, obviously, and do some bigger ones, you're going to need a bigger range, as it were. This is another set here, which has got the square pastels, the square ones, and usually the square ones you can get them medium soft, as it were, and reasonably soft, but you get the very hard pastels as well that come in with a square thing, and those are the ones on the little corners you can do your fine little lines with, and almost use it like a pencil. And if you keep them this way, they stay nice and clean. Another little tip I haven't got one here. You can have a little container, as it were, and all the paints, the pastels that you've been using. Maybe there's some other colors using it because you're using one over another color. Keep them aside, put them in a little bowl or a little a glass jar, as it were, with some rice in it or some coarse bran, and then you can just move that glass a little bit, and what happens is it cleans your pastels up nice and without making too much mess. So let's have a look at the next one. I tell you what, the response of this to our ones we had before, moving here to the monitor, is very, very, very clean, sharp. In other words, fast as well. Here I've got a whole stack of other ones that I use, and here I've sorted them out, not necessarily one actual color. I've got a range. In other words, all the oranges and the yellowy oranges, the things like that, I've kept them in here. Here, all the yellows, and sort of between that one and the white, the light yellows. Here I've got the different colors. You can see I've sorted some of them out here. There I've got a whole stack of greens, blues, violets, all the browns, and here all the little bits and pieces that get left over. You can hardly hold them in your finger, but sometimes you want to work in a tiny little area, you can pick these up. Other times you can crush some of these and then take the powder and add that onto your painting. So let's go to the next lot. Here I have another set of pastels. These are the Novell Carré pastels. You also get the there's another name for these ones here, I can't remember now, but they make also the oil pastels, but we're not working with oil pastels. And what I did was, before I left South Africa, I bought a whole set of all these individual colors. And what happens is, if you buy normally when you buy one color, you get a box of 6 of them. And these were on sale where you could buy this individual sticks. So I bought a whole stack of individual ones in here. And they sort of medium hard, and they don't crumble that easy. And you can do a lot of painting with these and hardly work this the paint. You can use these sticks for many, 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 many paintings. So right, here we come to the pastel pencils, and these are the only ones that I have, and basically what I need, hardly any more than these. It's just a few, 1 or 2 blues, and 1 or 2 reds, but some yellows and orange and some light green, etc. Dark black, dark violet, and I've got a charcoal pencil. Let me see, this one here, I've got a charcoal pencil in there as well, where I can add some nice darks in. Okay, so those. But these ones you can build up slowly as you will. I think I'll hardly use them right in the very beginning, just so that especially those that have just starting, that you don't feel that need that you have to go along and buy a whole stack of pencils like this. If you've got them already, fantastic. But it's not needed right at this particular time. So here we have, for the dusty people that feel that they you've got one of these dust masks. You can buy these at a hardware store, and I think this pack has had 5 piece of it, 5 of these, and it's got a little rubber band elastic on there that you put it on and it holds it up. And I just don't see it on this. This must be on the other side. There's a little strip in there. is a bit of a steel strip. In other words, that part will go, your nose will go over that, and then when you've got it on, you just pinch that side and this side to form in your nose, and it fills up that little gap so you don't get dust coming in the side. And those that feel that they the dust of their hands, you can get these multi-purpose disposable gloves that you also get in the hardware store, and they're very cheap. I think what I paid this one here was something $1.55 or something like that at a $2 store. So I hardly ever use them, but I bought them just in case. So, and also just to show you that there's nothing that really stops you from working with pastels. If you feel that it's a bit messy in your hands, that's fine. You got to just put these disposable gloves on, and they're cheap enough. And here you need the fixative that we need to fix some of the dust as we going along, some of the pastels. In other words, you could do some, you can fix a layer so it doesn't move. You can come back, put another pastels over the top of that one, fix it, then you can work again, fix it again, so that you can do a couple of layers over the top and not interfere with the lower layers. What happens when you put fixative on, it tends to darken it when you put it on. Some fixatives, you can check it, it darkens the color and it'll stay dark. This one that I've got here, it darkens the color, but it's only while it's wet, and when it dries, the color lightens up again, and there's hardly any notice to see. So this is quite a nice one, and this is the Dollar Rowney Perfix, Perfix, colorless fixative. And while they're talking about this one, don't get the tin with it's got a marble in. So when you pick up one of these ones, give it a shake, and if you hear a marble running around inside this one, put it down and look for one that doesn't have it, because that marble tells you that there's solids inside this thing, and that marble is there to mix everything together. And if you don't mix it properly, or it's very old and it's been settled down, it doesn't sort of come out. I've ruined 2 big paintings like that where I've put the fixative on and it just goes out, and just big lumps of stuff come out, sticks onto the painting, and it's very hard to remove. In some places, absolutely impossible to remove, and you've lost the whole painting that you've got. So I advise, don't get the ones that have the marble inside. A lot of people use hairspray. I'm very skeptic of it myself. I've never used it, but these here are specially formulated for pastels. In other words, you will know that in 5 or 10 years or 20 years time, this fixative is not going to affect your painting unless you've really put a lot onto it. So let's see, let's go here. Here I have also the Dollar Rowney 144 set, which I use, and it looks as if it's unused, but what happens is when, for argument's sake, like these ones here, the moment that sort of disappears, I go along and I buy a new stick. You usually have, when you buy them, they normally come in sticks, a little box of 3 at a time, and then all I do is just replace that. Oh, lovely, thank you. Got my cup of coffee coming along here now. Thanks, Nolan. And I need it after all this talking. But you don't need a big book, things like this. I'm a professional, so I, of necessity, have to have these equipment that I can do anything. If I have a commission, I've got everything ready. But if you're doing it as a hobby, even then, as a professional, you can also not do. This is luxury. It's very expensive, but it is luxury, believe me. But you've got all the tints that you need. In other words, you have one color and it tints all the way down from darker tint number 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So, right, let's go to next. While we're moving that, I'll have a little sip. As you can see here, this is my large 144 piece by Rowdy. Right. Let's go through to here. Here is a list of suggested equipment. I'm taking my time over this one and getting you going, because if you anybody on here that's done pastels for quite some time, please bear with us. We have a lot of beginners on here, and I want to get them really started. I don't want them to sort of go into pastels, sort of jump right into the deep end and suddenly realize, oh, you do that, it does become difficult. But if you start slowly and going along, like our lessons are going to be, I'll bring you slowly up and up and up until you start getting proficient into it. Same like I did with the 2 years of the watercolors. At the end of the watercolors, I've got students now that are producing fantastic work. Okay, let's hear. These are starter kits, just a small set, anything from 20 to 30 pieces will do. That's the same one that I used in the watercolor in the end, and I'll be using these in the beginning before I start using any of the others. Paper, I'll show you some papers just now, but what we'll do for the beginning, we'll just use some watercolor paper as we use in the watercolor lessons. And if you want to go further, then I'll demonstrate with papers such as Canson, matte board, color fix, etc. But that I'll show you just now. Pastels, fixative, you need that. You need some stumps. In other words, what it does is just a little piece of paper that's rolled up just for blending and moving some of the dust around. Earbuds also come in very handy for smaller, nice small work. That's fine. A little craft knife. Sometimes you need to just sharpen or just edge off a little bit of the stick to get the effect that you want, or a little touch of fine sandpaper just to rub the stick over to get the surface that you need. Any of that dust that's on there, it can be used over onto your painting. Next we need is a little putty rubber. I forgot to bring one with me here now. I think Nolan most probably got one. But brown bread will work as well. I demonstrated that with the other. And you can also use brown bread for lifting up a color as well. Works very, very well. And need some small little bristle brushes. Charcoal pencils or a charcoal stick. Prefer these to normal graphite pencils, because I found if you use a graphite pencil and you start drawing a bit hard onto your painting and you come with your pastels over the top, what happens is that graphite is a bit on the shiny side and smooth, and the pastel goes over the top of it, doesn't grip, and it leaves all your pencil marks in, and you just can't get rid of it. So that's why I don't use any graphite pencils. And if you're using a template, you're using the actual dust. When you transfer it, it's just the dust of the pencil. That's easy. That disappears. You need a kitchen roll and a damp cloth for wiping your hands, and a dry cloth as well. So that if you wiped your hands, you need to dry it. These are just optional ones: the dust mask, surgical gloves, and tracing paper or similar to cover final paintings for protection, and some masking tape. So let me just put this down on the thing to remind me of something that I'm going to show you. Let me just put that there. Right. Now, this is just your basic equipment needed to start with. In your wonderful experience in pastels. If you first time, I guarantee you're going to really enjoy it. Right, paper sizes. During the watercolor classes, we use the 12-inch by 16-inch 140 cold press paper, and we will use the same at times for pastels. Pastel works very nice on that particular paper. Doesn't matter at all. And if you're going to be using any bigger sizes than this in any of the future classes, then you'll have advance notice that we're going to do work on a bigger size. In other words, some of it, the painting can be done very fast, but it allows us to use a much bigger paper. Right, painting position. Right, when demonstrating the watercolors, I mainly use the flat position because of the camera angle and that when you're using wet in wet. But you can do a lot of your watercolor paintings with the painting also standing virtually straight up as well. But that's too straight up for beginners. But for pastel paintings, it's better to use almost vertical position, so that the dust, when you're working with it, actually falls off and doesn't accumulate in an area where you have your painting is absolutely flat down. And I've made a nice little dust collector, and I'll show you how that works when we start. Right, floor position, painting position. Yeah, that's vertical floor protection. If you've got a wooden floor or a concrete floor, you still need to put something down if you really need to, because accidents do happen. A stick can fall off while you're painting and you don't see it, you tramp on it, and it can really make a mess. And accidents happens in the best of families as well too. Right, this description of the pastels, I'll do that just now in a short while's time. Pastel colors. Big thing here when we go into the classes, don't get hung up on the names of the colors. Like in watercolors, you ask, what color am I using? I'm using a ultramarine blue with alizarin crimson, or ultramarine blue with cadmium red, to get the different types of purples and stuff. Here, we're not hung up with names. I don't want to know the names. All I want to know is I'm using a brown, and is it more to the yellow side or to the orange side, etc. And that's what you need. In other words, now you're going to start training to look at colors and pick the color what you want from the box without trying to find out what is the actual color. It's nice if you do, but you find you can really paint and pastels faster if you're just looking at the colors and not getting all caught up with the names itself. And you must probably find when you buy your pastels as well, the names are not there. Right, I was just showing us light green, red, dark blue, etc. If I'm using a color, all you do is get one that is nearest to that color. It's the techniques that I'm showing you. You don't have to match my colors absolutely exactly. I'm not here to teach you how to be a forger or a copy artist or anything like that. It's techniques is your thing, the name of the game. And once you know your techniques, you can apply that to anything. So I think before I go to samples of my work here, Nolan, are there any questions that people have come up? When I'm doing the PDF, I haven't had a chance to look to see, and with this chat box, they fly past so fast. No major questions. I just see something here. Do I use the brush? When I'm doing the classes, I'll show you how we use the brush, and I'll show you how you can use pastels and being the less messy. Pan pastels are the least messy, but they're a bit expensive, and I'm not going to be, not for a long time anyway, go into pan pastels, for the simple reason is that many people can't really afford them. It's nice, handy if you can. Right, anybody else? Let's see. I have some black Conte crayons. One of those will work for the blacks. Yes, you can, as long as it's not oily. You can use the Conte crayons, and a lot of them use that. Sometimes they use it together with charcoal sticks. I've got charcoal sticks here, I've got a charcoal pencil, and if you want to sort of darken up a color slightly, darken up the tint, just a little touch of black charcoal into it, and it'll darken it up. In watercolors and oils, I don't want my students to have black at all, because what happens is when you start mixing colors into there, it can go, all your colors can go very dark and morbid as you go. When you are finished with your pastel painting, so you spray it with a protective spray. A lot of artists don't actually put protective coating over it, but then they frame it virtually straight away. What I do is sometimes I'll do a pastel painting completely without putting any pastels fixative down at all, and right at the end I'll just give it a very light spray over the top, just to put the extra loose pastels, the dust, to keep it in its place. And the reason for that is that when you paint, when you frame it and you start transporting it, any little bump can loosen some of the dust, and it will drop down and gather at the bottom of your painting, and it doesn't look nice at all. But later on I'll show you a way where we can frame your paintings with a double matte, where any pastel that will happen to fall down will fall down behind it, and you won't see it. In other words, you make a little collecting gutter, as it were. Right, any others at this stage? Let me just see what the difference between hard and soft. Okay, the hard one, what they do there is they put a lot more binder in when they make the soft pastels. The very soft pastels have very less binder in it, so that it can release the release the pigment much easier. When they want the hard pastels, and that's the one when you use you can use it for drawing, etc. And then you can come over it with your soft pastels, which brings me to another thing. Is let me just take a sip here. My throat is from all the talking. Is right? It's what was I talking about here now? Difference between hard and soft. Okay. The hard one is it'll look almost like these ones here. Don't worry about going closer. You're going to be doing it just now. It's just like a little square one. I've got it in this little box here, and that can be used for painting. A little bit later on, we'll be coming here onto here, and I'll show you some of the harder ones. I haven't got the very hard ones, but I've got the medium and the soft, and I'll show you the difference onto here before we end the class. So that is it. Yeah. In oils, you have what they call the fat over the lean. In other words, your first layers of your painting has to be done very thinly with very little oil in it, as it were. So that, excuse me, so that under layer dries faster. And when you got that, then you can come back. If you've been painting and leave it for a week or 2 weeks, you want to come back again, you want over the top, what you can do is you're going to add some paint over that that's got a bit more oil in it. So in other words, what happens is the oil takes a long time to, excuse me, it doesn't evaporate, as it were, it oxidizes. And if it's done all with just the thick paint, the top gets a hard layer over the top, and the bottom layer takes a longer time to dry. And what happens is when this starts drying out, it shrinks a little bit, and then the top layer comes down, it changes the thing, and it cracks. And that's where a lot of the cracking is formed. Same thing with pastels now. What you can do is if you use your hard pastels, you can even use your soft pastels. What you do is you work it into the first layers into your painting so that it doesn't hang loose, as it were. You're working it into the tooth of the paper. And then you can come with your softer paper, pastels. You can then spray it, come back with some softer ones, spray it, and put them. You can put quite a few layers on like that. Okay, so let's see. Any other questions? What's the difference between the sticks and the pans? Right, the pans, I don't have the pans here, but what it is, it's in little. If you let's say you take a jam jar and you take the lid off, and that lid is like a little container, almost like the same little containers that ladies have for their putting the powder on their face. It looks exactly like that. And then they have a special little applicator. It's well, I can't even demonstrate it. It's got a little. The whole stack of them got different types of ends to them, bigger ones, smaller ones, etc. For taking then you take it instead of like the powder, a puff, as it were. You're taking this with a stick, picking it up, and then you're smearing it onto the directly there onto the paper. So that pan, that's almost like a solid as well. But you can also take a stick with a brush, as it were, run it over the top, and also get a similar effect. So that's the difference between the sticks and the pans. 4 questions for now. Okay, it's right. Okay, let's go back to the PDF. And here is one I did of firemen, very old, in the very old, in the beginning of the last century, etc., when they had all this type of hand-pushed fire wagons and all that. And the nice little helmets that they were using in those days was really fancy. And just before they had the earthquake in Christchurch, I was down there, and they had a big exhibition on all the fire, the modern equipment and the old equipment. And this old man must have been in his 90s, was there showing off all the old things. And I took a photograph of him, and he gave me permission to use it in paintings. And it was about 2 months after that we had a big earthquake, and that the whole cathedral collapsed. So anyway, that's that one. And you can see he's had a nice. I'm going to tell you a little secret here. Just to remember, I mentioned earlier on about the fixative. Now this one was nice and smooth. Absolutely no smooth. And when I came with a fixative and I wanted to spray this, it went, and it just sprayed big lumps all over on this. And I thought, oh, there's my painting gone. So what you do, you have to think a little bit, see how can you recover the painting that you've got. And suddenly it struck me, you know what I can do? I can take this painting and make out that he's been coming out from fighting a fire. So what I did was I got some chalk, flat on the side, softly just rubbed it in. You can see sort of giving the impression of a smoke in the background. And this was done actually on black paper. And then I worked up this here as if he'd come with all the soot and the smoke and everything, and then I called it a hard night's work. So there I managed to restore or recover my painting, and believe it or not, it got sold as well too, like that. So it was just one of those where I was able to recover. Other ones I couldn't. This one is one of the ones we're going to be doing in the classes, and it's bit of down in the Eastern Transvaal in Mpumalanga, out just not far from Barberton, and of these two huts, three huts actually, and I changed the original. I haven't got the original photograph anymore because that was all lost in my big crash that I had. So I did this from a big watercolor painting that I did, to show you can use a watercolor painting as a reference to do this one, and we're going to be doing this one in a class. You most probably you recognize that little piece there, yeah, and this has got quite a lot, quite nice. So this one is a big painting. I've got it here in the studio at the moment, and just when I'm finished with this PDF, we go straight onto that one, and I'll point out a few things on it. And this is also done on the Canson paper, and this is the actual color of the paper itself. So I used this color because I was using the sky, and I used the same color. The color of the paper is in here, and then all that is going to be use that without having to go along and waste a lot of pastels. So that was done. It's quite a big one. It's 570 by 410, and we'll go into that in a short while's time. I'm going to show you a few things there. Let's go to the next one. This one was done just the other day, January the 4th. In plain air, in other words, it's out in the open. I went out, I belong to the the Auckland in plain air group, and we went out to one of the bays there, Maratai Beach, and right on this side here was where they slip bay, where all the boats go out. I changed it a bit. There was a big, like a breakwater with all rocks going right across. All I did was I just put a few little ones sort of sticking up here, pretending it's high tide, and of course across like that, it's going to spoil the painting. And this just shows you what you can do, is you can change things in your painting, leave things out. It's not what you put in your painting more than often is what you leave out. And this is the color of the sea, etc. And this is then one of the ladies took a photograph of me there. There you can see the corner of the trees. I left these poles out. There you can see that big breakwater that I changed. And this I took this little piece here and did it. And there you can see my easel with the pastel sheet on the top, and etc. So we had great fun. My goals for you. Right. I think these ones here you can actually sort of go and right. Let's touch a few things. direct copy can be very unemotional and cold. In other words, if you're just copying a photograph, etc., you want to put your own personal feeling into it. And you can take stuff, you can move it out, change it, like I've done just showed you in the previous thing. And there's two ways that you can start a painting. You can take it, let's say you got a photograph of an elephant you want to paint. There's two ways you can start. The first is you can immediately draw it out and start painting. Now that is completely it's unemotional at all, because you just see that picture, you're not connected with it at all, you've never seen the elephant, you don't know when it was taken, what was outside and all that type of stuff, and you look at it and maybe the picture hasn't got all the nice little details in, and you put it in, and then you suddenly find that you're going to be painting stuff there that is not quite fits into the actual live part itself. Because if you've got an elephant, for argument's sake, one of the most difficult things to do is the legs. They look like tree trunks, but yet the shapes is so subtle that if you don't get that difference in there and know the difference, it's going to look like tree trunks, and it's going to look very, very odd. And also what happens is, what a lot of people do is the size of the eye to the body of the actual elephant themselves. They make the eye much too big, and the eye, I've seen some of them are big paintings up on the net that they got for sale. It's got a big eye and it's got a human eye, of all things. So that's why I said study different photographs before you even start painting. Try to actually see a live animal from close up. And you see the first option is only an acquaintance. The second option is like a personal friend whom you know well. In other words, get to know it. Look at one. Study it a little bit. Another example is that I've seen as well too is in the sea. Seascapes. I've seen excellent seascapes, but I've also seen some real ghastly ones where the waves are not painted properly, they don't understand the waves, the foam at the top of the wave is flying off in the wrong direction because the artist doesn't fully understand the dynamics of a wave. And it's only when I took time to study the waves that I really begin to paint. Now, each of you will be getting a copy of this PDF. And on this one here, I'm not going to click it now, but you can go into it, you can click onto that one, it'll bring you to a lesson in our website where I went in and studied the actions of the waves and put it down in a graphic form so that you can understand all the different stages of which a wave goes through, so that when you can start painting a wave, at least you know why waves look and get as they are. You see, and it's only after that that I myself began to paint more realistic seascapes. The moral here is to take time and study your object well if you intend to paint it well. Now this is very, very good advice, especially now when we're starting with the beginners. And as we go through the different classes, you're going to find that I'll help you as much as I can with studying and showing you them, so that you get to know the techniques of the painting. And when you study, you are transferring and storing vital information into your memory banks. See, if you just paint an ordinary and fast of an ordinary painting without studying it, you're not really storing it it's there for a very short moment, and then it's gone. But when you study it and really study it, what happens is you're storing and putting it into your memory banks that you can draw on later on whenever you need it for other types of paintings as well too, especially the techniques. See, when you delve immediately into a painting, there's no time for storage, and the temporary vision is normally lost after a short period of time. Now, Here I've taken a little quotation out of Proverbs 29, which is very good advice. Storage becomes knowledge. In other words, actually I've added that first little line. This first one here, knowledge becomes understanding, and understanding becomes a vision. Sorry, that's what I wrote. Storage becomes knowledge, knowledge becomes understanding, understanding becomes a vision. Here is Proverbs 9. Understanding the why, and I got myself really mixed up here now. Anyway, understanding the why and the what of techniques and the why of what you are doing are the two most important things. What then go and look up Proverbs and see what they say about vision. And that one says there, for the lack of vision, the people perish. Okay, here is a little one of a cheetah that I did a long time back, and for a demonstration, and this is just tells you about the preparing of the paper that we need. So now we've gone through the PDF. So let's move now to the big painting. Right, this is that other one. You can see the size of it that I've done. It's behind glass at the moment, and there's the color of the paper, which I'll show you just now. And then I've got all these ones, but I want to show you that if you sort of half come in, it looks like as if there's a lot of detail in this particular area, and even in across here. So if Nolan can sort of just go zoom into this little area here. Come in a bit more. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Now you can see here, it looks like there's a whole lot of leaves and stuff inside this one here. What I've done, I've taken advantage of the roughness of the paper, and I've taken this, it's like a very dark grey green, and put the side of the pastels. In other words, you have a piece here, and I've taken just the pastel and just softly over the top, just sort of just run a little bit over the top of that one, and you get this feeling as if there's a lot of leaves in this particular area. The same thing with the others here. All I've done is just that. Here's one here too. It's just rolling up. So here we go. So in there, and across here too. Into there. It's just taken this, also the green and the yellow, and just smudged it on sideways into there. To get that feeling of all these little loose branches and stuff inside. Okay, now I'm going to go and physically show you all the paint things that I've got. Right, here, let's open it up this way. I've got sheets that I have when I go out for in plein air. That's the size of the one that I did there with that little seascape. I prepared it. That's on that blue paper. That big painting was done. And then what I've got here is a sheet of tracing paper that I've got here. Sideways, you can see I've got that tracing paper. And what I do is, it's got let me just lift this up here. This is for protecting your painting. Once the painting is done, I position this over the top, and then stick that down, you can still see the painting which underneath this one here, and you can go along and you can rub your hand over. You can put a cup of tea on there with, well, as long as it's not wet, otherwise you have a problem. But you can put something heavy on the top and move it across, and it won't damage at all, because very little of the dust actually collects onto this paper. You can also use, there's other papers as well too, which is almost like baking paper and stuff as well too. You can put that over the top, and you can take that and just, let's say here's another one that I've done here, and you finish the one painting, you can come along and put the one over the top like that. And then what I do is I have, this is just part of the watercolor pad that I had, is all finished, used. I just put that into there, and this is the old backings of cardboard from here stuck onto there, and I can put that straight onto my easel, nice and solid. And then I pack it into here, and you can carry anywhere along, and under your arm or in a bag or anything, and you won't damage your pastels at all. This is very, very important, because if you can do what I'm doing here, you're going to have paintings that will last for a long time, and you're not going to worry. You can put them in a drawer, you can slide them in and out and do everything. As long as you've got these in here, you don't have storage problems. So let's put that to the side. Here, what I've got here is some color fix. Now this color fix, you can get big sheets. I've just bought a few small sheets. This is right, let's put that down here first. I've never used color fix before. I've just used all the other paintings. I bought this the other day just to try it, and it works very well. But it's a very fine sandpaper. You can hear it. And it's very, very fine, and that grips. You can do quite a few layers on this one here. On that, and you get them in a few different colors. You can get the gray, which is similar to the one I've been using. You get here's a very dark gray. You can get black, etc. I bought these three just to try out, and I believe you can get some of the stuff and paint it on cardboard, color fix liquid, but I've not seen it. Maybe I'll try and get some and use it later on in the year. We'll use that later on as well too. So another one is ordinary mat board. This is ordinary mat board, and you can take some of your colors here, and works quite well. And I know people in, there's a lady in South Africa that, let me just get this cloth, just wipe my hands, wet cloth, keep that dry, and you can go back again, and the hands are nice and clean. So that uses the big mat boards, and she used to do birds and animals and stuff just on this, and it's nice and hard, and it's you can frame it, and it's easily carried, etc. as well too. So these are just the two. These, what I've got here, this is the ivory color. So, and we will use that later on during the classes. Put that aside. That is this Canson, and here I have just a few sheets that I've got a big storage thing that I've got here, which I keep all these things in, keeps it nice and flat. It's nice and solid, so I can stand this up straight out of the way without the paper sort of going into a bent shape. Now this one here is the My Tainties, Canson. My Tainties, you got here for pastels, pencils, got ink, and even watercolors and stuff. But to me, if you want to use this with watercolor, you're going to have to really stretch it. And this one here is fairly thick. It's 160 gram. So I've got that. This is it's not quite white. It's almost like a pale, very light grey if you look against the white of the paper in here. So these are the sheets. These are standard sizes, and it's 500 by 650 or 50 by 65 centimeters. 450. It's about 20. What about 20 by just over 30 inches, something like that. 610 is 2 feet. Okay, so another one that I've got here is let's put this down here. Another paper, it's also Canson, but it's Vivaldi. Now that is also nice thin paper. It's also this is 120 gram, and if you're doing landscapes and things like that, this is a nice one to use, because then you can leave some of this shining through for your ground, etc. that you go in. So you've got different colors. Then I've got another one here, which is a black. You can buy these sheets separately, as you. And here's the one of the black. The thing is, when you work with the black, you've got to be very, very careful in using those, because if it makes a mark. It's like a black car. Shows the dust very, very quickly. And also these papers, you've got to watch out you don't crease them, because they're big and flat. They can crease a little bit, and that will always show. So you need to be careful when you're using these thinner sheet papers. So this is basically what the papers and stuff that I use. So, and I've got some more inside here. I've got some watercolor paper and stuff. So let's put that down here, out of the way. Right. Now we can come showing you the equipment that I've got. Okay, so here I've got a Maury's set, and it's 50 colors. We got different. I'm not going to go through all the colors, but I'm just giving you a broad out look of what's happening. So here we got some blues and some greens and some yellows and stuff, but this doesn't give you all the colors that you need. This one is more, I don't know, more for brighter colors that you need. So I keep the color there. This is the ones that I use in the watercolor class, and it's the Mungyo, Mungyo pastels, soft pastels, and some people have bought them. It's quite reasonably cheap, and they're very happy with it. I bought this one to test it out, and we use that in the last two watercolor ones, which show watercolor and pastels. And in the beginning, I'll be using these little half ones, and there's a nice, beautiful range inside here where you can do quite a lot of paintings with this alone. And then, of course, you can go along and you can replace these, and these are sort of not absolutely soft; they're sort of semi-soft. So I'm going to put that aside, because we're going to do some little work with it. Just when I've gone through this lot here, and also what you do is you protect it. This has got a protector across, and got the sponge in here to stop it from moving around. You don't want it all in transport. You don't want it to break into pieces. Okay. Here it's just other little sets of extra little colors that I've had all through the years, and haven't used these ones very much. I've been using more the others. So let's see, we've gone through those. Right, let's go here. This is my big set across into here. Now we have these. These are very nice and soft. Very, very soft. You can see. Look at that. Just do that on there. Look here. They're very soft, and the pigment comes off very nice, and just that fine little spray of fixative that, and each one of these ones here is kept in its own little one. I've somewhere along the line I've forgotten to replace those few in there. But anyway, let me just put that down. You've got to watch out for this one. I've written on here top. One day, because I picked this thing up and it was upside down, and I opened it. It was just pastels all over the place. So you got to put it in a box like that. Be very careful that you mark on the top, so you know when you open it up, you don't have pastels right falling all over. And these are little ones. I'll show you where we use them. Right, let's do that. When you're using the pastels, to stop them from rolling all over the place, you can take them and you can put them in here. This is like a foam rubber, and it doesn't roll around. But I've got you get some of these corrugated cardboard, and you can put when you're using it, just put them down in here, and they don't roll all over the place. Then you can later on, when you finish, you can then take these and put them back into their holders. So let's do that. These are just little tips to help you make your life nice and easy. Right, let's put that there for this time being. Here, Nolan put that down. Here's some putty rubber that you can form into what you need. You can form that into a tiny little point, and you can also then take it, or you can roll it across, etc. Thanks, Nolan. Here, let's do that. Here I've got all these other paint boxes here, where I've got them all sorted out into virtually the different colors. Much easier to work this way, because if you're looking for a greens, and you've got them all in one place. You've got all the blues, the different color blues, the violets, the yellows, the reds, and the browns. So it's much easier than you got it organized, because sometimes what happens is they lie around and there's the bits and pieces all in between, and then you've got to hunt, and then you can't see it, and you pass over it. Okay, these ones here, the ones I'll show you just now, there's a whole stack of them, and the ones that I bought, all the individual little colors in there. So I'm going to put this aside. I'll use some of this on the paper when we show you some techniques. I'm going to put that to the side, and that can stay here, this can stay. And what I do is when I transport these ones, I've got all these little pieces of foam, and I just put the foam over the top and inside here, and then I can put these on top of each other, and then I can transport them. Otherwise these things roll all over the place. So you need some of these to keep yourself organized and out of trouble as well too. Okay, right, then here's a dust mask. There's that little strip that you put over your nose, pinch it so that it goes straight over your nose. And other things as well too I've got here is these little, let's put this here. Buy them in the shop, there's little foam spreaders. You can use these for a big area, for spreading nice, just to get rid of the streaks. This is a smaller one, this is a bigger one. And you can use this also for watercolors and acrylics and stuff like that. So those are just little ones. You get smaller little ones as well. There's a wet rag. There's a dry rag that I use for my hands. And last of all is the pastel pencils. So let's put that here. And here's my pastel pencils. And this is just one of those where you could put water. Not necessary, but if you want to work in certain areas, you can darken it up. I use that in one of the classes where this comes off. You fill it with water, and it's a brush, and you can just squeeze that, and you can work in wherever you need to. So let me put the pencils here so I can touch some of those pencils. On there we got that. And okay, let's take a bit some of these greens. That, and let's do some little things here on the paper. Try them out. Just get myself organized here. I'm just going to put those on the side. And yes, we've still got the fixative across here, and you don't hear anything on there. Another one is what you don't have to get it right away. Is gel, acrylic gel. This one's by PBO. You get other types. It's an acrylic gel that you can use in your acrylics for mats and extending and things like that. And part of that is going to be using near the middle of the year. We'll be using some of this with the pastels.
Do you have a preferred brand of pastel pencils?
I don't know. I haven't got a brand. I just go along, and if I see them in the shop, I just buy. Let me just see. Let's see what I have got here. It's a complete mix. Let's see. This one is Faber-Castell. It's a white. Let's see, these ones here are Stabilo, S-T-A-B-I-L-O, Stabilo, Carb Othello, and I think all these ones here happen to be, those ones, all these here with the same markings happen to be the same. And this one here is a Derwent charcoal that I've got. Derwent charcoal. You get them in different colors. This one's light, different densities rather, not different colors. And what is this one? This one is Swan, SCH1. Carb Othello, the green. What is this one? I think this one is, yeah, this is a black oil base. It shouldn't actually even be in here. So let's don't use that. But if you're using it for the end, that oil-based one, that's fine. If you want to sign your name in the end, it's still okay. But it's got a different feeling altogether. Yeah, most of these that I've got here are all, I went into the shop one day and I did myself a little bit of a favor and spoiled myself with some of these, with these ones here.
The gel that you've got there, is that clear or is it white?
No, it looks white. It looks white, but actually, when it dries, it dries clear. It's the same as a lot of the other gels. When it dries, it dries absolutely transparent. So it's a bit deceiving. It looks as if it's white, but it's not.
When would you use the water brushes?
Yes.
When would you use them?
Well, during the course of the classes, I'll be using watercolours as a base and then pastels over the top, similar to what I did in the other. And sometimes be in between certain areas. Let's say I want to darken area a little bit, I can come in with the water and then work in some places. I can't tell you exactly now, exactly where. It's just when I'm going along, when I feel I need to make a little bit of a adjustment, then I'll use those. But it's not absolutely necessary. You can actually use an ordinary watercolor brush. These are just nice and convenient because it holds a lot of water without going along with the big pots and stuff as well too.
Do you ever need to replace your putty rubber?
I suppose it comes to a stage there where it gets, I think there's like one of Nolan's here is almost ready to replace. But it looks dark, but and used a lot. But it's surprising how long you can go, and it looks, yet it doesn't make any mark on your paper.
Let me show you what to do.
Sorry?
I'll show you what to do to fix that.
Okay, here's Nolan going to.
What to do when your putty eraser becomes dirty is you pull it like this.
Let me go in a bit here.
Thanks. So if you knead it like this, then it becomes clean again. See that? So you just knead it for a while, and then it's brand new again. And you can use this thing. You can use it for years. So even though you initially might think it's no good anymore, it's actually still fine.
Okay, let's open up here. Okay, and right, I think that's.
Stephen was asking just how would you sharpen those pastel pencils?
How will I?
How would you sharpen the pastel pencils? Do you just use a regular sharpener?
Yeah, you can use a regular sharpener or a knife. They're not that absolutely that soft. You still have to sharpen nice and carefully that you don't break the points. But all these ones here have all, you can see, they've all gone through the actual sharpener itself. You can see there's no knife work sort of gone into this lot here. It's just the normal sharpener. And you can sharpen it into point or chisel point or whatever you need. I think that covers this at the moment. So it gives us another 20 minutes where we can go along and do a few little marks on the paper. So let's put that down here. Take a sip, yeah. Okay, so let's take a nice soft pastel. Oh yes, what I want to do, let me just get a pen. I'll use this pastel. No, just use a pastel pencil. Yeah, they can see how it works. I'll take a blue one. Yeah. I want to show you the difference. What a tooth and texture. There's a big difference between tooth and texture, where people get confused and think that texture is actually a tooth. If they see the roughness, that's could be. It depends, but it's not really the actual tooth of the paper. Because let's go back onto here, and I'm going to do it fairly big for you. Let's go. Let's say I'm going to put some tooth. I'm really exaggerating, and there's your paper. Now, this tooth from there to there can be in here from there to there. This is highly magnified. So there, if you run your finger across the top, this here is texture. That's the texture of the paper. So in other words, if you've got a piece of paper that's smooth, there's a smooth, and there's the texture. So this is still the texture of the paper. But you get some papers of being hot pressed, and depending on what the make it is, it can be very much smoother than a lot of the other as far as the surface is concerned. I'm not talking about texture now. I'm talking about this face that goes across here. So let's say this one here is smooth, and this one has got it with no tooth. On here, there can be, in the case of the color fix, let's say what they do is they put a little layer on the cross here, which is actually fine grit. It can be ground stone, it can be ground pumice, etc., and that is fixed onto that surface of the paper. And in that there is the one that actually grips the dust. This one is smooth, so there's not really any grip for the dust in this one across here. So here you can put lots of layers onto this one, and here not so many. It'll tend to slide unless you fix between the layers. The same thing, you've got one here that's got hardly any texture to it. It can also be very smooth, or it can also have a texture in it on that piece here, like that. On that piece. Now that texture there can either be like the grit that is on the top, or it could be the fiber on here that is not been pressed down as hard as this one here. This one's gone through what they call a hot press, and the hot pressed one has gone through a big mill with the big roller that's got hot water in it and roller in between, and that is really compresses it and smooths it out. And this one here is not, can be cold pressed. They put it through the presses, but running through, but there's no hot water in it. In other words, there's no sort of heat interaction between the two. In other words, let's put it for want of another word, there's no melting, as it were. So there's the difference. There's your texture, is that, which you get your rough paper. But this is the actual tooth, is this, into there. So we go across to that, so right. Now let's take some soft pastel. This is so soft already. See what's happening? My fingers has already got some of the, so you can take that and we can sideways run it across there like this. And doing that, you can see the texture of the paper. It's got that here, by running it sideways, it's got no chance to sort of go into the little hollows unless there's some of the dust that's sort of accumulated and goes in. But across this one, you have that texture. And that's the texture I use there to do those leaves. Very softly, you're going to go over like this. And you get that leaf texture in the end. So you got that. Now what happens is, if you're working with this flat, this paper, all this that you work with it, the dust, loose dust collects it and forms around and gets pushed all over the place. But this one here, what I've done, I've made a collector. So you can see here, I'm going to pick this up. Yeah, I'm going to pick that up. And I've taken that. And there's the cardboard in there like that. And if you look inside there, there's some of the green dust. Oops, has already fallen in there. So you do that, you don't have dust all over the place. And any dust that's in here gets down the bottom. And that's what I mentioned earlier on when you, when you're framing, you're going to have the mat board, the double mat. One is cut with a down. This opening is bigger. This top one smaller. So that any dust that does come down goes down drops down in between into that little area there, and it doesn't affect your final mat that goes around the outside. There's the soft one. Let's see, here's another soft one here. I'm hardly touching, and that's what goes in. If I'm touching very hard, it goes in there like that. And then you can come along, and then you can smooth. Now, when you're doing your first layer, it's better to come along and just work that into the tooth. You work that into the tooth, so you get that nice background coming in, and it goes right into the tooth. And that gives you a surface there now where you can come in with another color. Just take this yellow, and you can go over the top of that one without this mixing into the other one. Can you see that one there? That yellow is mixed with the soft dust, not as bright as the one that I've done here. So it depends, all this depends on the effect that you want. So we've got that one, done that. And then let's take, where did I put this one here? These are the ones with the square ones. Square, and you can come along and you can use flat this way at an angle, and you can pull that down, especially once you've made a nice little flat surface there. Also, it's got that little corner, and you can really come in with some finer lines. And this one here, where's my cloth? See, it doesn't spread as much as that one there. It doesn't spread as much as that one there because it's a semi-hard. It's a much harder one onto there. So, but you can come with a nice hard one. All right, let's get a colour that will go over that one. Let's see if the blue will go over the red. You can come over. This is a light colour. See, it doesn't spread as easy because you've still got some of those marks in there. So this is a semi-hard. But then you get another one that is very, very hard. And these are all the different things. Next, the next class, next week, we're going to be going into, I'll show you, we're going to start immediately into a whole lot of textures, working with the different types of textures, and then we're going to actually go into some practicing some actual items, as it were, to get you into the feeling and the go of working with the pastels. And then the third class is we're going to be doing an actual scene to do a finish painting. So this one was just to get you orientated inside the workings of pastels. Next week we're going to be doing some techniques, showing you the various techniques, where to use them, how to use them. And then the third lesson will be one where we'll be doing an actual scene. That will be one that you can then finish and hang up in your.
Everybody's asking, what easel are you using?
What easel?
Yes.
Same one we use for our normal classes here for well painting. Same one. There's my little catcher. You can see there's some dust inside. You can see the dust. It's already been picked up inside there. And then if you've got a whole stack, you've been a big drawing, you pick it up, walk wherever you want to, and then just get rid of it, give it a bit of a wipe, and it's ready for the next one. This is just the oil easel that we've been using. So there's nothing fancy. You can actually even take it to a board like I've got there and just prop it up against something. So you can just prop it up. You can maybe a toolbox or whatever. You can just put there and just let this other board. This one here, you can just sort of prop it up against something. In other words, up like that, and behind, and then paint, and just put this underneath it. In other words, you just put that down here. That underneath, and then you can paint. By the way, it's not drawing; it's a pastel painting. There's that controversy about whether it's drawing or painting. You can use it for drawing and painting. In other words, normal drawing, like I've done here. Then the painting. This is normal drawing. Whatever you want to do here, I'm just putting a few little squiggles there. I'm doing some nice little drawings. And let's say I'm going to do a bit of I'm drawing out, I'm planning a house for argument's sake, and there's a roof here, comes down, from here, and maybe there's a chimney up into this area, things like that, and get the windows inside here. That's drawing. And you can still do it with the other, but this doesn't move away as much as the other. If you use the Conte pencil, you can use that for that. Or often I've got what you call a charcoal stick somewhere in one of these ones, and you can then just use the charcoal as well. Often you use the charcoal, that works in with the other. So, any other questions before we round off today? I hope that you've enjoyed yourself and ready to go for the next week's classes. Let me put these glasses on. Everybody happy? MDF board, that's fine. This is actually MDF. Same one. That's right, exactly. Somebody's clever there. There's I've got my hinge. Somebody's the same one, just upside down. The one I used there for the watercolours. There we go.
Always repeat the question before you talk about it.
Yes. Now somebody wanted to know whether it was the same board that I used for the watercolours, and just you turn it the other way, I can then hinge it up to whatever angle that I need. You can also do that with your pastels. You can put it down at an angle, put it up. In other words, you can put it flat like that, and then turn it up. Just prop it up at the back, and you can use whatever. It's just two pieces with a little hinge, two little hinges. It works very well. All you do is you just prop it up the way you want it. Flat, nice. Cheap and nasty. Works like a bomb. Right. Good. They like your pots there, Nolan. How did everybody find the YouTube working? They happy with that? Rough tooth Bristol board can be, yes, you could actually use, the question is, can a rough tooth Bristol board be used? Yes, you can use anything really. You can use even the brown packing paper. People have used that as well too. I'll show you later on in the classes where I've got this pad here with a watercolor pad. And what happens at the back, you've got this nice thick cardboard. You can prepare the underside of that one and use that for pastels as well. Many artists do that. You've got that color fix, for argument's sake. If you can get some of that, you can paint that on. But I'll show you something else later on which we can put over the top, coat that one, and then you can use the pastels from there. Okay. So I think that's it, eh? Right. I hope each and every one of you have picked up something, especially those for the beginners, and let's hope some of those that have been on pastels for a long time as well too, maybe also picked up a little hint or two. There's always, even if you've been on the road a long time, one artist always has a little bit extra for you. That is why I often go to other people's workshops as well too, because they say, well, you shouldn't be here. You should actually be teaching us. I said, no. There's always hints and tips that you have got that I don't know. So it's one teaches the other. It's gone through, that's the way it's been through all the time, from time immemorial, where people have gone and you learn from other people. And always learning. So hope you'll be with me again next week. And then we're going to start really going into the pastels. And from my side then, from Nolan's side, keep well. God bless. Ciao for now.